Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Sri Chaitanya Educational Institutions Infinity Learn presents Times Network Living Room Conclave India Education Mission. Now, since the roots were laid down by the British, the traditional education system in India has been very diverse and extremely structured, which was primarily to make Indians work as factory workers and clerks in offices. Now, over time, things have changed. The country has evolved. We gained independence 75 years ago. But the education system has improved. It has moved along, but very minor tweaks. There is a need for a lot more change in the Indian education system. And because, even though India has a lot of talent, our education system needs to be upgraded, updated with the changing times. There is an urgent need for a paradigm shift in education so that we can prepare our students to be global citizens while providing them with skills and abilities so that they can survive and thrive in the new economic and social order. Now, this is where the well-designed STEM system, which is science, technology, engineering and mathematics, this comes into play, and that is the focus of this very special episode. We'll be looking at the overall scope and outreach of STEM education, which is considered as the next generation of education delivery in India. For the very same discussion, I'm joined by two experts. We have Mr. Nambi Narayanan, he's the former ISRO scientist, and we also have Ms. Sushma Boppana. She's the co-founder at Infinity Learn and also director at Sri Chaitanya Educational Institutions. Now, before we begin, I'd request Mr. Nambi Narayanan to share his thoughts on the scope of STEM education in India. Over to you, sir.
The science and technology, engineering and mathematics, which is shortly called as STEM, these are actually taught to the child when it is young age, very young age. So the child picks it up faster, and that is very important because as it grows, what is shown, what is taught to him in its young age makes all the difference for the child to behave or to absorb things which are going to come later in his life. So this is exactly the spirit of the whole thing. Next step is that we are going to teach to the child the STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics. In the earlier system or the present system, you do not have something like this kind of a system wherein the child is taught all these interesting and important subjects which is needed in life. So in that process, the child at its best age or at its age where it is able to absorb things gets the education on the basic, interesting and important subjects. With that, the child is picking up its further education, and of course it has its own difficulties, and it is going to really help the child to become a developed child with a holistic approach, already standing ahead in terms of globalization, culture and digitalization. We stand a unique advantage having a vast proportion of our youth already oriented in varying degrees to science and technology. Our vision is now simple: to equip all our children at an age where they are learning and growing with STEM principles, enabling them to make decisions and choices out of a much more empowered place.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Narayan. Now, I'd like to continue my conversation with Ms. Sushma Boppana. Ma'am, first question to you. Before we start, can you throw some light on the penetration of STEM education in Indian academia? What has been your observation so far?
STEM education is, as everyone knows, it's very important for any country, not just India. We want to motivate a lot of young kids, girls especially, to go into STEM education. Because that is definitely a requirement today to make sure a lot of discoveries are made in this sector and our children become a part of that discovery. For that, IIT and NEET exams, what we train students for along with Olympiads and NTSE, they form a perfect foundation because they help the student gain that problem solving skills, logical reasoning, and they get to tackle any problem, without blinking and understand the reasoning behind that. I think all of that leads to a lot of discovery in different areas. It could be artificial intelligence, medicine, robotics, astronomy. I think all of that contributes to the future of our country, and this is the generation that's going to do that for us.
Ma'am, nowadays artificial intelligence is coming into all aspects of life. Technology is coming into all aspects of life. So, artificial intelligence and practical teaching, they offer outcome-based learning. But what kind of aptitude development and, what kind of employment opportunities can students achieve by enrolling themselves in this kind of education path? How is this going to benefit them?
Starting off early helps any child, any student gain a lot of ground in the process. There are a lot of kids who are hungry to learn, hungry to succeed, and they have the capability to work hard and understand. But unfortunately, not everyone in our country has the opportunity to learn and get the best of learning that's available in the country. And as you have asked, the future, students have to definitely learn those logical reasoning and thinking and aptitude skills, and which only comes through a lot of practice and a lot of understanding. Right? Most of us grow because we know what's out there. If a child does not know what's available out there, what the competition is, they can't sharpen their skills, they can't work in that right direction. I think this is a way for us to give that foundation where a student gets to assess himself against lakhs of other kids in his age, so that he can figure out, okay, where am I? Just being a top 5 or top 10 in their school, does it matter, or is it good enough, or do I want to go beyond that and explore all the possibilities and compete with the best in the country? And of course, I don't have to specifically talk about employment opportunities. I think students who do well in STEM and have a degree in STEM, they are in high demand today, and they have a lot more possibilities to find good spots for themselves to be part of the future and to make a difference in how the world evolves in the next few years.
Is there any kind of scholarship that Infinity Learn is offering to students through the score test, is kind of, supporting students even more?
A student who needs financial aid, yes, it's a blessing. But a student who do not need financial aid also, it's a confidence builder finally. A student will feel so confident to be on his own to get that scholarship. So Sri Chaitanya and Infinity Learn together, we offer about 1,000 crore scholarship this year. And we are anticipating about 1 million plus learners to come and take the score exam to compete within themselves. So we can identify the winners and allot scholarships accordingly. And we want to target about 10,000 plus schools this year, so that we cover a lot more students and be available for all those students, and to give that service to them in terms of inputs, learning, subject, master classes in different areas.
The score test, which is quite innovative and very unique. What's the ideology behind the test?
The ideology is simple. Our first priority as Sri Chaitanya, we have a history and we have a culture of being able to help a lot of kids who are not coming from a very strong financial background. We see so many parents and students come to us frequently and say, my child is top 5 in the class always, from 6th standard to 10th standard. He's done extremely well, he's brilliant. Yes, the child is brilliant, but when he's thrown into a competition of students from 1,000 schools, how will he survive? I think that is the question, and that is how every student needs to learn to compete and do better than where they are at today. This gives them an opportunity to check how they do among 10,000 schools and among Sri Chaitanya students also in certain cases. So that way they can, they have that needed push. A bright child who is always getting first or second is quite chilled out and relaxed because they think they are doing very well. But when they face the competition, that's when they realize, okay, what are the areas I need to improve? And they try to fulfill their potential. So we want to create that competitive environment so a lot more children race ahead and use their brilliant brains and do much better in the future. I think SCORE with the STEM challenge provides that opportunity to every child to have that ability to identify and join us, so that way we can give the needed inputs along with their interest and caliber. I think this exam will provide that opportunity to every single child, not just financially in the form of scholarships, but also competitively, because the exam is mostly focused on logical reasoning and creative abilities, English, math and science, if you look at any grade. So this kind of helps them figure out where they are placed, and we only grow by experiences. And this will give the student an experience in the competitive arena so he can improve on his own and work on areas where he's falling behind. So the next time he takes another competitive exam, he's much more stronger. And finally, all these kids would like to go to NTSC or Olympiads, NEET, IIT, especially kids who are aiming for STEM. So this will prepare them, for that career ahead.
Since you mentioned competition, one thing that has happened over years is because of technology and other reasons is the globe has in a way shrunk. So things have become, the world is really small, is a smaller place, so to say, yes. Which leads to students now having to compete on a global arena also, like global academic competitions like the first Lego League, the World Robot Olympiad. How does STEM education help them? What's the scope of STEM education on the global arena for Indian students?
The global arena is definitely changing. If you remember 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Indian students are recommended highly for technology jobs or for math and science roles because we had a strong fundamental foundation for math and science. And the world has changed now. And today you look at American schools, British schools, they have a strong math and science background as well. Though it might not happen from an early age, but when you come to 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they are doing equally well with our children. So the competition has increased just like how it happened in our country. In the world also the competition has increased. And if you look at just the American budget on STEM education, they have announced at least 5 billion in the next several years. So every government is happy and willing to spend on STEM education to be able to reach out to so many more kids and motivate them towards that STEM education. In our country also, a lot of universities and the government is making an effort to do that. And apart from that, private organizations like us, we are definitely in support of that and working towards providing those opportunities for our children.
Fantastic. That is a really important and commendable. Ma'am, let's talk a little bit about the strategy that Infinity Learn follows, specifically that you've been able to produce top rankers for the consistently for the past many years. What's the secret sauce? What's the strategy?
The secret sauce is similar to what STEM education is. It's all logic, reasoning, scientific approach. In today's competition, either for the IITs or NEET, it would be impossible to achieve those consistent below 10 ranks just by doing, rigorous hard work. It comes with a lot of logic, problem solving, reasoning, just like a student does. Our team also does a lot of research. So we do all the homework for the student and we do the research to ensure we have a determined path for the child day after day. We have a daily plan, weekly plan, monthly plan, and we know what exact questions and what type of questions a student should be working on to make sure he maximizes the output for the time he's spending studying. Because apart from education, we want the child to grow in a very healthy environment with all-round development, with some sport and other activities as well. So the few hours he gives after classes to study should be very, very productive so that he can do well in these competitive exams. So we do a lot of research year on year. We take feedback from the students who have taken the test and then try to incorporate in our curriculum. And we have different types of curriculum suiting different kinds of students because some kids are brilliant and they can only work for a little bit time. Some kids might not be as brilliant, but they are open to working a lot more hours. So we design curriculum based on the type of the students and make sure every student has a chance to win and succeed at the end.
On that note, it's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. The conversation continues after this short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sri Chaitanya Educational Institutions Infinity Learn presents Times Network Living Room Conclave India Education Mission. My conversation with Ms. Sushma Boppana continues. Ma'am, can you tell us about the SCORE STEM Challenge? How will this be conducted?
The SCORE STEM Challenge is a 4-round exam, and the first round consists of the SCORE test, which is a preliminary exam, and it will be conducted for 1.5 hours. And based on the grade of the student, the subjects are decided. For younger grades, it's problem solving, critical thinking, whereas for the older grades, it will be physics, chemistry, math, or physics, chemistry, biology. And for all these students, I think this is the primary basis for determining which students are eligible for the STEM program. and basic scholarships will be given based on the score exam as well. But the 1,000 crore scholarships that we are committing to will be determined after the student goes through all the 4 rounds. After this, once the students are selected for the STEM challenge, throughout the 10,000 schools that we are hoping the participation will come from, we will have a master class on STEM where students get to hear a lot of experts talk about STEM and different nuances of STEM. And after that, there will be a city level challenge where students are expected to create some innovative videos and post it, so that way we can assess the creative abilities of the students. And then the next step will be level 3, where students at a regional level, they will be able to participate in innovation. And that also they have to develop a project on innovation and present. The final level will be at the end of January, where students are invited to a residential 2-day program, and where lots of quizzes and crosswords and a lot of things are done during that time, along with teaching, so that we assess the students' caliber, and then the final selection is made after the 4th round. This process is designed so that we try to understand the mindset of the student and the caliber of the student without just judging by one exam, which is the score marks. And throughout this process, students will have access, and we will be providing constant engagement with a lot of daily quizzes, a lot of crosswords related to STEM, that the students will gear up and prepare for the level 2, level 3 and level 4 as well.
No, ma'am, that's a very important point that you said, because it's really important. Each child is different, each person is different, and especially just giving that extra attention to each child is definitely what is making a difference. Let's move a little on. I want to talk to you about some of the challenges that STEM education faces in India. So now we know that children develop an interest in STEM at an early age, about an average age of 8, I believe. But this is also, because technology, gizmos, this all fascinates them. But the leap from being a user to an innovator, that doesn't happen too much. I mean, great, they're using that technology, but are they being able to innovate, create stuff? It's a slow transition or even where it works. So is this link between engineering, technology and entrepreneurship, is it evidently missing in India? What are your thoughts on this? What are you seeing on the ground about this? What can be done?
Any person without a passion, I don't believe they can excel in what they want to do. They have to have the interest and passion in that particular field of work they are doing, in particular area of work that they do. So that is what we should inculcate in our children. Young kids, though they like something, they explore a lot of things, they don't have the needed support system to grow in those areas and to develop that passion. Even if they have a passion in a certain area, it requires certain external abilities and external influence to make sure they continue doing so, and they keep challenged. They keep getting challenged in that particular area. I think that is what is missing in a lot of different sectors, or a lot of different states, cities, towns, if you look at. Because every parent doesn't have the financial capability to get that for their children. And even if they have the financial capability, every parent does not have the intelligence or the information to do the right things at the right age for the children.
A step by step moving in the right direction is what's the most important thing. Ma'am, as the head of the organization, give us a little sneak peek into what your day at the office looks like, strategizing the curriculum for teaching and training students. How does your day generally pan out?
I am more into academics for the past 16 years as being part of Sri Chaitanya as an academic director. I spend most of my time working on academics. Of course, there are other administrative responsibilities that come with it, managing finances, Infinity Learn, there are a lot of other things. But my core is academics, and I try to spend as much time as possible on academics, because that is the core of the organization. If we are an education organization, and if academics doesn't work, nothing else works. It doesn't matter however great you are at all the other things. So most of our days are spent either interacting with teachers, or interacting with students, or interacting with administrators. These are the 3 main areas.
How do you manage an education platform like Infinity Learn? You were earlier talking about passion. What motivates you? What motivates you to help guide these students better?
Sri Chaitanya has been a perfect example of nurturing STEM education for the past 37 years. And we've been primarily focused on nurturing a lot of doctors, engineers in different areas throughout the 37 years. And especially the female child. Our starting 37 years ago, Sri Chaitanya was founded with 87 girls. And we've been proud to be able to assist students in Andhra, Telangana for the most part. But now we want to expand our wings and make sure that service is available for students throughout the country as well. And we highly, highly respect a student who's wanting to learn, willing to learn, and do the hard work needed to succeed in life. And we have huge respect for such kids. And we want to keep motivating and encouraging such children to do well for themselves and change their entire family economic background, the structure of the entire family itself in the next several years. So that is the fundamental determination behind SCORE, is to be available to a lot more students in the country so we can identify and give them that support. And hence we've come up with this core exam, so to make sure we can reach out to lakhs of kids around the country.
Well said, ma'am. Ma'am, last question. Now, the Atal Tinkering Labs by Niti Aayog, as well as the National Education Policy, they've both come up, they've both changed the game, they changed the whole playing field, or whatever you call the education sector. Just your thoughts on how this is helping students, and also how this has changed the space for private edtech players.
The education sector is changing quite quickly. Students are getting adapted to new techniques. Students rushing back to brick and mortar might be a temporary phenomenon, but this will continue. I think brick and mortar will not go away, but edtech will definitely add value if done in a proper way, if done in a student-centric environment. I think, let me stress on that.
Well, thank you, Ms. Boppana, for that enlightening take on STEM education. Indeed, the scope for this system in India is massive. After all, we have the world's largest young population with unmatched talent and potential, and we certainly need to exploit the opportunities presented by the current reality. But it's a Herculean task. And to achieve this Herculean task, India needs the combined support from government and also from education organizations to avail all the opportunities and benefits that STEM education can bring to our country. Well, that's all on this very special episode of Sri Chaitanya Educational Institutions Infinity Learn presents Times Network Living Room Conclave India Education Mission. Thank you so much for watching.